Hello and welcome everyone to a new Heroes of Might and Magic 3 tier list, where in this one, we're going over the might side of the castle heroes, the knights. We're going to be rating every single knight D-test here, based on how well they perform individually. Now, as a class, they are actually not horrible, okay? They're gonna be like a really might-centric class, so they will actually be really good in the early game. But if you were to level them and build them into like a proper hero, they will usually be lacking some critical skills that you would really want your main to have, such as Earth Magics, for example, would be a really big one. But if you're looking just for a might guy to get going, and if that's what you need in your game, then Knights are a wonderful class for you. And also, notably, Knights are one of the best combos with the Magic University. If you can guarantee Knights to get certain schools of magic that you want, then they're actually a really good class. So yeah, let's get right into every single one of these individually. First off is we have the Christian. Now, Christian has been a meme for a long time. Some people like really live and die by the Christian, love this guy so much. But honestly, they're stupid, okay? Like, apart from this theme, like as a pretty cool looking dude, he is actually pretty bad in modern day gameplay. He starts off with the ballista. In order to get the ballista, he actually misses out on some archers, so that means your entire starting army is actually completely gutted immediately. His starting skills is also leadership artillery, and leadership is not really the best. If you want to go artillery is not the best. If you want to go for a ballista type of gameplay, you'll really be needing you'll be needing a lot of attack bonus. And knights don't really have that much attack bonus to support the ballista gameplay, and because of this, it ends up being mediocre at best. So the ballista is not really good. That means artillery is almost a dead skill, and you don't really want the guy with a dead skill. That said, as a side hero, he's able to take some fights. If you get him like without the army, then you just get yourself ballista and a pretty cool dude to go along with it. He is, in my opinion, low B tier. Next up is we have Edric. Edric is actually one of the strongest heroes of Castle. I really dislike this dude. He starts off with 2 stacks of griffins because he's the griffin specialist, and he also has leadership and armor straight into the game. Now, the part where I don't like him is because he starts off with 2 stacks of griffins. 2 stacks of griffins means no archers, and I'm all about the marksman in the early and mid stages of Castle gameplay. And because I love marksman so much, I clearly dislike the guys that will be taking the marksman away from me, and that is Edric. But if you were to get him in any other faction where you will, be searching for a different main that you started with, then Edric can actually be a really cool dude, especially in Confi. He's a very good conflicts main. Not like S tier, but he's actually an A tier hero. Despite me not liking him, I have to respect him. And next up is we have Lord Cash. This guy, he's okay. With leadership, he can actually take some fights as a side hero, and the morale ends up feeling pretty good on him. And also, if you were to give him like a few levels, he becomes a gold mine for you. The specialty doesn't actually add that much gold extra on top of what you would regularly get, unless he's like very critically leveled, But you don't really level him that much anyway, because every single individual level does not really give you a lot, and also he doesn't really build into a really good hero, even if you were to level him. So he's kind of like in a niche where you don't really benefit from him unless you level him, but you don't really want to level him because you wouldn't benefit that much anyway. Your experience is usually better put to other sources. So the most that you usually do is take like a few side fights as well as like a few learning stones in order to get his estates going. But honestly, he's as good as like a Cuthbert, who also starts with basic estates. The specialty doesn't add too much, and it's not too relevant. Because of this, he is a C tier hero. He's actually way worse than Lena, I would say, for example, in comparison. Next up is we have Orion. Orion is a very unique hero. He's unique in the fact that he has archery specialty, and he's the only hero in the game to actually have this. And despite this, he's actually not seen played a lot whatsoever. And yeah, the reason for this is because he's a knight. Knights usually are a very early to mid-game class, and Orion's specialty specializes in more towards the late game, meaning that the power points are mismatched for knights and the specialty, so there's like no sweet spot where Orion is actually that good. Because of this, he's very often not really chosen as a hero that you really want to use. Even Veleska has way more popularity than Orion. So because of this, I wouldn't really give him more than B tier, despite being the only archery specialist in the game and the guy dishing out the most range damage. Next up is we have Roland. Roland ends up starting with armor and leadership, and he is also a swordsman specialist. A swordsman specialty does not really do much for you in the game. Sometimes it's a little bit of a nice convenience, but it's not something that's going to be deciding whether you actually take this guy or not. He actually brings over archers into the game, unlike Edric, and he also has every single upside of Edric as well, being a really, really good might hero. Now, most usually you're actually not going to be seeing this dude because he's a campaign hero, and campaign heroes have to be enabled specifically by the template in order for you to be able to use them. But some templates actually have him, and he's a nice change of pace. You know, seeing a new face in your Heroes 3 games is usually pretty nice. He goes above Edric. Next up is we have Catherine and Sorsha. These two heroes are identical in every way except for the portrait. They start off with leadership and offense and are also swordsman specialists. These heroes are really, really good. If you want a solid might hero in the early game, then these are your go-to options. They're going to be taking fights really, really well in the early game. They will be dealing a good amount of damage. They will never be mismoralling. Your units will often be moving twice. And that is really, really good. You should be using these. Of course, if you want a solid late game main, they're not your primary choice, but they also could actually substitute, possibly. They go also low in the A tier. Catherine, of course, being higher than Sorsha because of her looks. She also is a campaign hero, just like Roland, so that's why you probably don't really see her often. And next up is we have the powerhouse of the entire game, Sir Molek. What an iconic hero. He starts up with advanced leadership and has the specialty for speed. Now, speed, what it does is it gives you +2 speed to all your creatures inside of fights. And that is very super strong. That's a cape of velocity on your hero without actually using up the item slot or actually even having the item in the first place. This guy is the most broken hero in the game, and the specialty is so broken that it doesn't even matter that he's a knight. Even if you roll bad skills on Molek, he will still be super top tier. And back in Shadow of Death, when he was available always, Castle used to be even a way better faction. These days, he's actually not really available. He has to be specifically enabled by certain templates for you to see him. But whenever you do see him, he is absolutely amazing. Super top tier hero. S tier. Next up is Sylvia, the navigation specialist that starts off with advanced navigation. Now, she's a good side hero. In water maps, you kind of just put her in a boat and she swims places. You get like level 2 on her. She has expert navigation, and that's pretty cool. You don't exactly want to build her into a main. She doesn't make for a really, really good one. She is thematically kind of cool, and I do like her. There were times when I was playing with John and Sylvia was around, and she felt kind of decent. I would say she is mostly a support hero, and a decent one. B tier. Next up is we have Tiris. Tiris is the champion specialist, and she starts off with tactics and leadership. She's actually one of the best knights in the game. Due to her specialty combination with combined with tactics, using nothing but 2 champions, Tiris is going to be able to do so much for you. Most notoriously, she can actually clear range fights really, really well, and that's something that Castle usually struggles with, at least in the early mid game. So yeah, there is also these kind of issues. She is very often picked in the mirror matches as well. Sometimes the people pick Lord Hart just for some extra cash, and sometimes they pick Tiris if they actually want the tempo. She is very solid. I would say she is about A tier, in between the offense and the armorers of the knights. And last, not last, almost last, we have Veleska. Veleska is your go-to pick when it comes to playing Castle. Whenever she's available, she actually changes the game very drastically and gives you that super influx of marksmen. You start off with 30 marksmen, that will be able to take a Portal Glory day 1. It will be able to take the training grounds day 1. She changes the entire dynamic of the faction by just existing. She is super good. I mean, you don't necessarily want to use her as a main, but even if you don't main her, you pick her for the boxman, and then you're able to actually take fights on her as well. She's gonna be getting you your first box, your first dwelling, your first artifacts, and so on. She is very impactful, and honestly, surprisingly enough, I find myself maining her very often. She ends up rolling not that well, but basically barely good enough to actually get by in a game if it doesn't go too long. And you know, if you're playing well, you're playing fast, tempoing out properly, then the game should not really go too long. Of course, based on the template that you play as well. I really like Veleska. I will put her just above Tiris. There she goes. And last, we have Beatrice. Beatrice is the scouting specialist for Castle. She ends up starting with leadership and scouting. She is one of two scouting specialists in the entire game, alongside Miriam. And she's she's the worst of the two scouting specialists. She is a knight, so she doesn't really roll good skills. You basically level her up to expert scouting, and she's basically done. She has some niche uses where she can be really good in Diplo matches, as well as maybe like one hero matches or some gimmicky gameplay. In like legitimate gameplay, you don't really see her used too often, but she's really great as a meme. But being great as a meme will not really place her that high. I would say she is high in the B tier. So that is my personal list of the Knights in Heroes of Might and Magic 3. They are a really solid might class, and they don't really go outside of their might roots, most usually. Meanwhile, Barbarians and Overlords actually make into really late game monsters. So compared to them, they're pretty weak, but compared to actually looking at the game as a whole, they actually are really solid heroes. So now I'll invite Feral and Name to join us in the conversation. Hey, Tribunal.
Hey, Lexi, how you doing? Hey, Ame.
Pretty good.
Hey guys. So first of all, I want to point out that I see a high concentration in the A tier, so I think you really like the Knights, don't you?
I do. I feel like I might be overselling the Knights quite a bit. But
yeah, so for example...
Yeah?
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like in the past like half a year, I realized that leadership is actually a really good skill. I used to hate it quite a bit, and now I'm like, yeah, I was wrong.
I guess. So, not much to point out, except maybe Sylvia is a bit too high up, since she does have navigation, and just how often do people really play water maps, you know?
But she's only going to be appearing in the game during the maps with water, right? So meaning that she is never used outside of the water maps.
I guess so. But not much else I can disagree with, so you kind of just took my last shot here.
Okay.
But yeah, perhaps Lord Hart a bit lower, but yeah. Feral?
Yeah, a couple things. I'd just like to point out that both Edric and Roland, the fact that they both start off with armor is actually super influential for this class, given that as a class in general, they have quite a high chance of rolling offense. But their armor rolls are, a little bit lower. So the fact that they have armor with a high chance of offense, they can be reasonably decent might heroes for you in the game. They have 2 out of the 3 main might skills you can look for. So yeah, I mean, they're all right. But there's one thing I really have to point out. So from back in the day when I used to play heroes and 15 years ago, I would always play Castle and I would always play Lord Hart. That was my go-to every single game for years. I love that guy so much, Lord Money. And just on pure nostalgia, he's probably the best hero in the game for me. But just a general note in terms of his specialty, I know you didn't mention it, but once you have expert estates, every level is actually only worth 50 gold a day on the hero. So, I mean, getting him to level 10 is effectively giving you 500 gold a day, and that's a lot of investment for not that much of a return. But in either case, given the nostalgia value, and look how amazing his hair is, he's easily the best heroes in Heroes of Might and Magic for me.
That's nice. That's cute. I like that.
Yeah. And I also want to point out, Sylvia, Ame obviously was throwing a little bit of hate Sylvia's way. Navigation specialist, and obviously starts off with navigation. I think that makes her the second best navigation hero in the game after Elmore, I want to say.
Elmore.
So yeah, if there's a water map, you should definitely invest in her. In a water-heavy match, he's effectively a top S-tier hero in that very specific situation. So don't underestimate the value of a navigation specialist on those particular maps.
Yeah, she can be good. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I would also like to point out, maybe we could increase the Orion's spot. He does have the archery specialty and all, so he would be useful on more than just castle. If you get him in Rampart, you can use him to take some side fights. He gradually levels up. So I think archery is very nice on a lot of factions.
But then again, I mean, on paper, he sounds amazing. And if I was analyzing the games by just looking at the Wikipedia, I would be like, damn, look at this dude. But after years of gameplay, I actually only mained Orion once, and I think that was the only time I saw him being mained.
Yeah, but we're not talking about main here specifically. He would make an amazing
side hero too. I never use him. I never see him used.
I would argue for Orion to be dropped down the list because he's such a tease. He promises so much and delivers so little.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
With this massive archery bonus, but he's got fire magic, ballistics, and artillery. What are you meant to do with that? So he's a great hero on paper, but he's terrible in reality. I don't like him at all.
Yeah.
Did you say artillery?
Yeah, because he's a knight. He always rolls down.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, but that's it for me.
Yeah, thank you guys for your input as always. It's always lovely to hear from you. And thank you. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe for more videos and catch me live on Twitch. I stream every single day, almost. So, till next time. Bye-bye.